The theme is new concepts in affordable housing, and that's always the balance between the ability to pay for it and the ability to produce it, to deliver the housing facility. So it's about construction cost, about land cost, about availability on the one hand, about household income and price development on the other hand. I'll give you some themes to think about with me before I go to the new concept of affordable housing. The first major theme is, how do we keep our cities inclusive? How do we keep them interesting for different income groups to live in? To what scale also is mixing possible and necessary? Is it on a very local scale, or can we look at it from a more regional manner? And how does it work then in financial sense? Is that also fundable? The second one is, how do we make sure that we have adequate supply of housing? So that's one of the reasons why prices in some Dutch regions are rising very high at the moment. What can public and private stakeholders do to improve this supply? And the third one is the role of the free rental investors. How competitive is their model for the Dutch housing market on the long run? So these questions I would like you to think about, and we'll discuss them at the end of my presentation. We as BPD are working in 3 main countries in Europe, in Germany, France and the Netherlands, and we just finished our own woononderzoek. This is the big housing markets research we do every 2 years on how people want to live and what are the major issues in their opinion, in their preferences. So we see a big difference between the 3 countries. In the Netherlands we have a very large social rental sector, also in France, but a bit smaller. In Germany, the social rental sector is very small, whereas the private rental sector in Germany is very big, much bigger than in the Netherlands. We also see those percentages in the middle. They are the amount of income people are spending on housing right now in the 3 countries. In the Netherlands, it has risen since our last research with 2% points. So it is 37% of the net income is spent on housing in the Netherlands. In the rental sector it's even 42%, so that's a very important thing to remember. Germany it's like 33%, and in France it's 35%. We also see big differences in the supply of housing. In France it is imbalanced. The demand every year is met by new production. It's about 350,000 houses are built in France each year. In Germany they are around 200,000 production each year, new houses, whereas the demand is 430 per year. So it's staying behind, which is the same in the Netherlands. I will focus now on the 4 big cities of the Netherlands. They are growing very fast if we look at the figures in numbers of households, which also represent the housing demand for the near future. We see that young people are moving in the cities. They are causing the biggest part of the growth, but also middle-aged people moving out into the region, so nearby the big cities, but in the regional area. The difference between the 4 cities are summarized in this table. The numbers of households you can look at, but also the number of young people. Utrecht has the highest percentage of young people and also the highest percentage of high income earners. So Rotterdam you can see and The Hague, they are graying faster than the other 2 cities. And also the amount of low income is striking in Amsterdam and Utrecht. When we look at our own production as BPD over the past 4 to 5 years, we see that we produced 20% of our total production in the Netherlands in the 4 big cities. And the price levels are mainly below the 250, especially The Hague, it's a bit more expensive. Rotterdam, we produced a lot for the low income groups. And on the other table figure you can see that the entire Dutch market in the 4 cities. these are the themes I wanted to talk about with you, because I was asked to tell you more about new concepts for affordable housing. And we see that there are 4 dimensions in which you can search for that. The first one is, how do we make sure that we have mixed neighborhoods? To what level of mixing, or to what scale do we need to mix neighborhoods? The second one is optimizing the required square meters. So how low can we go on the floor plans? The third one is about flexibility and share concepts. How can we make houses that are flexible and that are, that also have other facilities than just the housing for people to share? And the fourth one is actually one that is left over from the crisis, more financial arrangement. How can you look at other ways of financing houses to make them more affordable? We did another study beginning of this year amongst 1,000 households, asking them how they want to live, to what degree they want to live in mixed neighborhoods. And the outcome is that people want to live in heterogeneous areas, but not too much. So they have to. People don't want to live in mostly ethnic minorities, but in other areas they want a mix of ethnicity in cities. High income groups and low income groups, they don't go very well together, but if you can make the next step in your housing career, it fits very well. We also see that in ages, people don't want to live in areas where there are only older people, or don't want to live in areas where there are only younger people. So also there is an optimum mixture which is desirable. And also the mostly one-person household, that's not very preferred in the Netherlands, which is a bit, our future is that we have a lot of one-person households, so we have to see how that happens, what's happening there in the Netherlands. And here are some examples of our Dutch areas. This is Laan van Spartaan, where we developed in the western side of Amsterdam a very differentiated range of household houses. Higher income, lower income, a very good mixture. And it took us, or it will take us at least another 10 years, but we started in 2000 with this area. So it is like an area where you need 20 to 25 years to develop it. It has also some educational facilities and some other functions in it. So this is a nice example of a Dutch, very mixed neighborhood in Amsterdam for different income groups. Here we see new apartment blocks in Utrecht, in the Merwede Kanaalzone, in Kanaleneiland. We did 2 different plots of student mixed with 1 or 2 person household, rental buying, small services, but also up to 60 square meters, purchase and rental. And next to that, this was just opened a few weeks ago, together the other block of social and rental housing. And this is an area in Utrecht where we will see development the coming 10 to 20 years in an entirely mixed neighborhood. I also put this example in. This is one we do together with AM. It's Hoef en Haag. It's near Vianen, which is a small community just 20 kilometers in the southern of Utrecht. And it attracts an enormous amount of people moving out of Utrecht into this new village which is being established. The prices are relatively low. They are cheaper than in Leidse Rijn, which is the other new area in Utrecht. And people are willing to move here and to travel like 20 kilometers per day for their work, to live in an affordable environment, but also very attractive and green. We looked at what kind of people are planning to come here, or are our buyers. And we see that a lot of the child and career, the middle income group, they are looking to buy their first home. They are heavily depending on affordable housing. And we also see that normally we have over 80% of the people coming from their own municipality where the project is located. But here it's only at the most 30%. So almost more than 50 come from the Utrecht region. So we think it's... what does it say, this sign? This place is not very good with public transport to come to. So there are some interesting things going on. It's also on what level do we need to look at this mixture of neighborhoods. Is this also working for the Utrecht region as well? That's another example where we just spoke about CBS office in Voorburg. We are getting fast ahead with the planning of this area. We reuse 1/4 of the building. We're doing this together with another project developer. It will be a mixture of houses, also meant for a mixture of inhabitants. Where you can see we are focusing on young people wanting to live there, middle-aged and also older people. So it's going to be a very mixed area in a former office building. This is the plan that's there right now. We will keep the parking place intact. It's the biggest nuclear kelder in the Netherlands, and we will make different kind of houses there. This is another example in the Hague region. Now, when we look at how low can you go on the floor plan, how can you still make a good house which is payable because you can keep the square meters low. We have some nice examples in the Zuidas in Amsterdam, where we are looking at small-sized apartments. This is the cut through, and here this is a study plan. We are looking at whole-on small apartments, also for the Zuidas, where we are looking at floor plans of 41 from 27 to 41 square meters, where people can have a proper kitchen and dining room, but have the bedroom in a sort of bedstay, as we used to have them in the past century. But still looking very smart, like this on the inside. So this is also the way of dealing with affordability. How low can you go on the surface? We also did a big consumer research in Amsterdam, where we asked people how small do you want your apartment to be, and do you want to rent it, do you want to buy it? And then you can read in Dutch, people are not 20 square meters is the absolute minimum people want to live in, and people in a certain age, they still want to live small, but it starts like around 30 that they want to move to a bigger house, and preferably in the buying sector. So the small apartments people prefer rent, but once they make the step, they want to buy the apartment. And also from this consumer research in Amsterdam, home sharing is especially interested for younger households, and young professionals, they want to purchase a house if they reach a certain age. This is another one I would like to tell you a little bit more about. It's one of the locations in The Hague we are working on, where we are developing an old tuintjescomplex into a housing area, and we will start with tiny housing for the temporary period of 3 years, and this will make the area attractive, and we will start with the small houses for a short period. The third one I would like to address too is flexibility and share concepts, where we are also working on, and with us also our colleagues, AM, has this amazing project of the Friends apartments, where people can live together in an apartment with very serious bedrooms, so not one small bedroom, but one big, but a few serious bedrooms and one big living room, so that you have, this concept can also work for people who want to live there as one household. So it is a flexible concept in that way. As BPD, we are starting with apartments in Zeeburger Eiland, where we have apartments for starters on the housing market, and where we in the ground floor we develop concepts for shared economy. So a lot of the facilities that you normally put in your house, you can put on the ground floor, so people can share that area. Also for one-person household interested to meet and greet down there. And you can think about car sharing, but also coffee or workplaces, and even maybe spare bedrooms you can look at from another perspective. So you can keep the houses small and payable, and put other facilities in the ground floor. Financial arrangement, how can you help people, in this case, buying a house in a location near The Hague, between The Hague and Rotterdam, which is actually maybe for you a measure from the crisis period, but which also still works right now, where we give a shortage on the buying price, which will be repaid later on when people resell the house. So it's a way of giving people the chance to buy a house for a lower mortgage. And it is a proper house, so that's the plan. So those were my 4 aspects in which I think we should look at for affordability. And back to the discussion.